If opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Milton Berle. My friends, opportunity's knocking every single day if you'll just spend 10 to 15 minutes with us learning how to chart these markets. It's all it takes. Don't worry about how long it takes you to master charting. And again, I tell people this all the time. If you're a fundamental analyst, you love the fundamentals, you still need to know when to buy. That is why technical analysis makes sure you buy at the right time, even if it's the best company. If the market is going down, if there's some bad news in the sector, completely unrelated things can drive the value of your quality company down. And you need to be able to read a chart to make sure that you buy at the right time, that you sell at the right time, that you insure through earnings, any number of things that you can learn to do. And of course, the way you insure, you can read about this. It is where you go in and you buy puts to make sure that if the stock has trouble going through earnings, and again, earnings are a very precarious time each quarter. Remember, stocks that have earnings, they declare their earnings 4 times a year, each and every quarter. And again, if something crazy happens, they miss earnings, that maybe they do really well, and a lot of people then sell the stock and start driving it down. All sorts of things that if you know how to read a stock chart, you can use that information to your advantage. So regardless of where you are, everybody who invests in the market needs to have stock charting knowledge. That's what we do. Now let's jump into these charts. This is a down day on everything. The biggest downer for the day is Bitcoin, followed by gold, followed by, looks like the NASDAQ 100, then bonds, then the S&P. So the S&P is the least down for the day. We'll start there. It is down 0.78%, so not a percent, but 3/4 or so of a percent. And we see it hammering up this week right on where it topped out before. Is that not fascinating? Is it going to roll off that? Well, you can see what's happening on the half day. Now, the half day is our smallest chart, the least reliable for long-term trends, but it's the first red candle we have seen in quite a while, so we are paying attention. We look at the 2-day chart. It finished drawing today. The 2-day and the half-day are well above the weekly trend line, as is the weekly chart, but we may have a ceiling here, and we may have things bump up on that and roll over, so pay close attention. We look at the NASDAQ 100. What do we see there? Well, on the NASDAQ 100, the topper is quite a ways away, unlike the S&P. It is down for the day. Again, everything down for the day. We see indecision in the morning, moving down in the afternoon. Look at all that volume. Look at the volume for this week. It may hit that average volume by the end of the week. The 2-day did. We look at the S&P just going back. It's about where the NASDAQ 100 is. Didn't hit average volume on the 2-day. And of course, lots of volume with that down move on the half day in the afternoon. So keep that in mind as we move into Friday. Doesn't mean we're not still long on both the S&P and the NASDAQ 100, but it does mean that we are cautious after all this up move for days and days and days and days. You can see it on the 2-day. You can see it on the half day. So that's where we are as we go into Friday. And don't forget, Patreon members, your weekly vertical crossovers, I'll be emailing those out to you. Remember, with everything we publish for you, we put it first where? We put it first at the Patreon page. So even if you don't see an email, go to the Patreon page. Sometimes those get stuck in your spam filter, whatever it might be. We always share everything with you in 2 places, both the email and on the Patreon page. So where are we with 20-year U.S. government bonds? They're down about 1% for the day. Again, on this 2-day chart, you can see where they are potentially ramping up at a ceiling. We can see here where we have a ceiling on bonds on the weekly chart. We can see on this 2-day chart where things have stopped there as far as the candle. We can see where the half-day penetrated and then moved back through. We may need to adjust this depending on what we see happen. Now, Friday will be interesting to see what's going to go on with, of course, stocks and bonds. Like I said, bonds pulling back just about 1% for the day. So that is where we are on stocks and bonds. Again, still on bonds. We are above the weekly trend line on the weekly chart, the 2-day and the half-day, but that half-day is coming down toward it. So we'll keep an eye on where things go on Friday. What about gold? Gold pulling back more than, well, not more than stocks, not more than the NASDAQ, pulling back 1.20%. We can see a green spinning top after 4 up candles on those 2-day charts, still above the weekly. We can see the half-day coming down strong in the morning, not quite as much in the afternoon, getting near that weekly trend line. Again, looks like we're probably going to get up to average volume for the week. We'll see what gold does on Friday too. Friday's going to tell us some things as this week wraps up. Lastly, we'll take a look at Bitcoin, down for the day 2.09%. Now we have a green, barely a spinning top, a little bit of a wick on the bottom. And again, you notice that I'm talking about the last candle, but I'm moving the cursor to the side because this dashed line here, I wish there was something else I could do with the cursor instead of having a dashed line, because it can add to and give you a false reading. So I always look at it and then move to the side. But you can see there's a little wick on the bottom here and a wick on top. Again, sliding sideways. We have a doji for the week. Doesn't look like we're going to get anywhere near average volume on that weekly chart. Haven't hit it on the 2-day that finished drawing, and have not hit it on the weekly, on the half day either. Sorry. Got a doji at the end of the day. So again, what does a doji mean on the weekly chart? It means lots of indecision. We can see this sideways slide on the 2-day and on the half day for many, many days now, seeing which way Bitcoin is going to go. But it was our biggest downer for the day, 2.09%. So we got no call on Bitcoin at this point, other than a lot of downward pressure, particularly from that strong down week back 2 weeks ago on the week beginning the 5th of August. That is where we are at the end of the day on Thursday, getting ready to go into Friday. Don't really have any potential buy-in points on any of these 5 charts for Friday on a practice trade, but we will pay close attention to what we are long on, and that is, of course, the S&P and the NASDAQ 100. I chose the NASDAQ 100 for the up move, and we will pay close attention as we move into Friday to see just where things are going to go. Was this just one down day for the market? It's going to take off again. We'll know that. Thanks so much for being with us, friends, and also Patreon members. We will be sending out to you the Charting Cryptos, Commodities, and Currencies in the email like we always do, along with the weekly vertical crossovers. And of course, earlier in the week, we posted those Charting Cryptos, Commodities, and Currencies for our Patreon members, as we always do. And for our just regular friends, the folks that don't help underwrite the channel, we do share those Charting Cryptos, Commodities, and Currencies, that special once-a-week training. We release that to the general public on Friday afternoon. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.